Most PM interview advice tells you what to say. Nobody tells you what the person across the table is actually thinking. I've been on both sides as a candidate and as a senior PM who's interviewed dozens of people. Today I'm walking you through 6 important thoughts running through every interviewer's head. The most important is number one. If you're new here, I'm Muthu. I've spent 11 years in product across Google, Flipkart, and other tech companies. This channel helps you prep for senior product roles with focus on the Indian job market. If that's what you are preparing for, subscribe. I publish one video a week that help you crack the interview. 6 thoughts, countdown order. For each one, what it means, what the interviewer might take away, and how to influence the answer. Number 6. Is this person even interested to be here? The moment you show up, before you've answered even a single question, the interviewer is already asking themselves, is this person even interested to be here? The way you show up energetically, your tone, your curiosity, whether you seem genuinely interested in the problem or just executing a framework, that's a signal. If you answer with flat delivery, no spark, no inflection, the interviewer is already imagining a PM who will find it hard to convince designers and engineers. They're picturing you in a room with a team. If they feel you can't get the point across effectively, that's a problem. The note they're writing in their head isn't low energy, it doesn't seem to care about the work. That's a culture fit flag, not a skills flag, which is a lot more harder to reverse than giving a wrong answer. The only thing that changes this is genuine interest in the problem itself, not performed enthusiasm that reads as fake, but showing real curiosity. Ask a clarifying question that proves you actually want to know the answer, that you're not just following a process. Say, that's an interesting constraint. Can I ask what the primary pressure is? Is it growth or margin protection? That tells the interviewer that you actually care about the business and you're not just completing an exercise. To give you some India specific context, there's a tendency in senior PM interviews here to be very composed and very measured, almost formal. The composure can read as disengagement. A little spark, a moment where you visibly find something interesting, goes a long way. And the moment the interviewer senses that energy is there, they relax. They stop evaluating and start listening, which is exactly when the next thing on this list starts to matter. Number 5. This person is talking at me and not with. About 2 minutes into your answer, the interviewer has a thought that they'll never say out loud. This person is talking at me, not with me. Most candidates never notice because they're treating the interview like a monologue. Get the question, go deep, keep going until someone stops them. Don't do this. Here's what the interviewer is actually experiencing in the moment. They're waiting for an opening to engage, to redirect, to go deeper on something, to test a different angle. If you never give them that opening, they feel like an observer in their own interview. What's worse, they may not get the hiring signals that they're looking for since their perspective is not being included. The candidate who never checks in and talks uninterrupted for 5 minutes, no matter how good the content, feels like someone who dominates the room and the meeting and not notice that the people have moved on. The candidates who change this dynamic treat it like a natural conversation. At a break point after you have laid out your framework or finished one section of your answer, pause, check in. Does this layer of depth work for you? Would you like me to go broader? I can go deeper on the user side or on the business side. Which is more useful right now? That one move does 3 things. First, it shows you're not just talking at them, you're reading the room. Second, it gives the interviewer control, which they appreciate. Third, it tells them you can handle ambiguity and course correct in real time, which is exactly what a senior PM does in an interview. Number 4, I can't follow where this is going. This is the thought that kills more candidates than any other. I can't follow where this is going. Not the answer is wrong, not they don't know enough, just I can't track this person. By the time an interviewer is sitting across you, they're exhausted. They've come out of back-to-back meetings, they have a product review at 5 p.m. and they've asked the question multiple times that month already. They're not going to work hard to follow your answer. If your answer is hard to track, no structure, no signposting, jumping between ideas, they won't lean in, they'll just check out. I learned this the hard way. I lost a senior PM round, not because the answer was wrong. The feedback I got was hard to follow. I've been so focused on covering the content that I never told the interviewer where I was going. They couldn't track me. That was a no hire for a reason that had nothing to do with my thinking. Structure isn't just a framework thing. It's about respecting the interviewer's time. When you open, With I'm going to look at three dimensions: users, business, and feasibility. You just told the interviewer exactly where you're going. Their cognitive load drops. They can follow you instead of trying to decode you. Candidates who feel sharp in the interview aren't always the smartest. They are the ones making their thinking easy to follow. To give some India specific context, in senior PM interviews in companies like Google, Flipkart, and Swiggy, you often have a 45-minute slot with back to back calibration calls. The interviewer is taking notes live. They can't track your thinking, they default to unclear communication in the feedback form. That's a no hire. Not because you had a bad answer, because you had to make them work. Structure gets the interviewer tracking you. Share your screen and type things in a Word doc so things are clearer to the interviewer and it's easier for them to follow. Number three, what would it be like to work with this person? And this is the one that surprises candidates the most. The interviewer is running a simulation in the background the entire time. They're asking themselves, what would it be like to work with this person? Not in a vague culture fit way, very specifically, would I want to be in a product review with them? Would I trust them to push back on me when I'm wrong? Would they make the team better? This shows up most clearly in how you respond when the interviewer pushes back mid answer. Do you fold immediately? Oh, yes, you're right. I hadn't considered that. That reads as low conviction. Do you get defensive? No, I think my point stands. That reads as closed. But when you respond this way, that's a fair challenge. Let me think about that for a second. Here's what I'd update my thinking, and here's where I'd hold my position. The interviewer's simulation resolves in your favor. The thought becomes, yes, this is someone I can disagree with productively. The word hold does a lot of work here. It signals you have a position, not just a process. That's what separates someone they trust in a hard roadmap conversation from someone they'd have to manage. And this is especially true in India's senior PM market right now. Companies are small enough that one difficult teammate has outsized impact. The do I want to work with this person filter is more active than it's ever been. Passing the tough room test shows conviction. There's a deeper filter running the entire time about the quality of your thinking, not just your presence. Number two, this is just another framework recitation. The interviewer is asking themselves, is this person thinking or reciting? After you've interviewed 20 candidates for the same role, you heard the same answers, you heard the same job to be done framework or the circles framework, you've heard the first define success metrics as an opener so many times, it sounds like a reflex. What the interviewer is actually listening for is one moment, one non obvious observation, one trade off named honestly, one point where they think, I hadn't thought about it that way. It doesn't have to be the whole answer, it can be 20 seconds inside a 5-minute response. But if that moment never comes, the feedback is structured but not insightful. That's a weak hire signal, and at senior levels, it's a no. Here's how you engineer that moment. Pick the trade off that's most uncomfortable to say out loud, the one where there's no clean answer, and name it directly. Don't dodge it with it depends. Say the real tension here is between speed and trust. I'd prioritize trust even at a cost of slower rollout. Because here's why. That sentence alone signals seniority. Junior candidates avoid the uncomfortable trade off, senior candidates walk straight into it. Here's what that looks like in practice. Say the question is, how would you grow Swiggy Genie's take rate? Most candidates frame it as a pricing problem, test a higher commission, run experiments, analyze elasticity, structured but generic. The uncomfortable trade off is that increasing take rate directly pressures your delivery partner's margins, and Genie's defensibility depends entirely on partner supply density. The signal response names the tension upfront. I'd approach this differently from a standard pricing problem. The partner economics constraint changes the answer entirely, and here's why. That one sentence tells the interviewer you're thinking at a system level, not just at a metric level. For some India context, at director and group PM levels, companies like Meesho, PhonePe, Razorpay, interviewers are specifically probing for strategic judgment, not execution knowledge. They're asking themselves, can this person hold the complexity of a hard problem without simplifying it too early? Give them that. The trade-off moment proves that you can think. But there's one thing before the trade-off, before the structure, before anything, immediately tells the interviewer whether you're actually in the room or you're playing back a rehearsed answer. And finally, number one, they are pattern matching, not actually thinking. And the number one thought the one interviewers have the most often, easiest one to kill if you know how, they are pattern matching, they're not actually thinking about this problem. They're just playing back a rehearsed answer. There's only one thing that counters this read. Get a question, especially a hard one, don't answer immediately. Pause, think, structure, then speak. Most interviewers do not want quick answers, they want good answers. A candidate who jumps in within 2 seconds of a hard question signals anxiety, not sharpness. It tells the interviewer you're pattern matching to a rehearsed answer, not actually thinking about the specific problem in front of you. It also signals immaturity to immediately start speaking before thinking. The right move is to say, let me take a moment to think about this, and then actually think out loud if it helps. The way I'm framing this is, or maybe even silently if that works for you, then give your answer. The pause is a power move. It shows confidence, tells the interviewer you're the kind of person that doesn't shoot from the hip in a product review. You think before you commit to a direction. Some India specific context, there's cultural pressure to fill in silence, to avoid looking like you don't know. Resist it. I have never, not once, seen an interviewer mark down a candidate for taking a visible beat to think. I have seen candidates lose rounds for rushing into a poorly structured answer they could have avoided with 10 seconds of thought. Here's the thing I wish someone had told me for my first senior PM interview. The debrief conversation isn't did they get the framework right. It is, do you want this person in the room when we are making a hard call? Is this person able to structure, give deep, insightful answers and communicate them clearly and engage with you? That's the bar. Everything in this video is a preparation for that, prep for that. If you're preparing for a senior PM role, drop a comment with the company that you're targeting. Google, Flipkart, PhonePe. Tell me and I'll cover it. I will read your comment and give you real feedback. Subscribe.